Telegram is a messaging app with 1 billion users, and currently the only platform whose CEO got arrested. This is Pavel Durov, the founder and chief executive officer of Telegram. He currently cannot leave France and has to report to a police station twice a week. His crime? Failing to respond to judicial requests to identify a suspect of an active investigation. Oops. This is big. Arresting a tech exec is something that never happens, no matter the reason. The only other time I can recall is when Ross Ulbricht got yanked into prison for literally running an illegal drug empire on the dark web. I mean, Facebook algorithms got caught promoting a genocide in Myanmar and nothing ever happened to Zuckerberg or anyone else at the company. But I'm not so sure about this one. Durov is a Russian citizen and his Telegram has been used by dissidents around the world in pro-democracy protests. Telegram has always marketed itself as a pro-free speech, anti-censorship platform. It's a self-proclaimed encrypted and secure messaging app. But can we honestly trust these claims? Is Telegram a genuinely secure platform for anyone to communicate safely? Or is this just another billionaire oligarch venture playing the long game where monetizing the customer is the end goal? I want to evaluate Telegram on 7 merits that should determine whether we should or shouldn't trust it. These 7 points will assess Telegram on safety, the personality of Pavel Durov, its business model, collusion with the government, who it's used by, applied security, and technology. Based on my investigation and analysis, I'm gonna give Telegram a plus point when I think a reason warrants trust, and a negative point for when I think trust should be revoked. By the end, I'll give you a total score that will judge whether you should trust and use Telegram or not. On my Patreon podcast, I dive deeper into each of these aspects in long-form episodes you can listen to for free. By the way, if you want me to do analysis like this one in the future about some other app, let me know. Let's start with how safe the platform is for the end user. Can you trust Telegram with your safety? The answer to this question lies in the indictment and charges against Pavel Durov. His arrest was sudden and unexpected, but it was a result of an undercover investigation that was going on for months beforehand. It started when the cybercrime unit of the Paris prosecutor wanted to identify a Telegram user who was luring underage girls into sending self-produced CSAM. Telegram was contacted by the French authorities with a request to identify that suspect, but for some reason, Telegram never responded. So the French authorities decided to go for the nuclear option and got the warrants for Pavel Durov and his brother's arrest. According to the authorities, this lack of cooperation wasn't anomalous, but a pattern of near total absence of a response by Telegram to judicial requests, an observation which was shared by investigators from other European countries. We also know this from Durov's own admission, that he prefers this hands-off approach to moderation in seeking free speech absolutism on his platform. And it appears that Telegram wasn't taking down things they were notified of either. Durov's charges aren't evidence of guilt. Conviction will come after the trial, before which many of the charges may actually be dropped, but they are a reflection of how Telegram handles genuine safety issues. Boasting hands-off approach and free speech absolutism is a terrible call in this instance. Government cooperation can be sketchy, we know that thanks to Snowden, but we are not talking about backdoor access to encrypted communication. Telegram refused to help an active investigation and refused to respond to judges. There is no reason this should be justified, and for that, Telegram receives a minus point on trust. Over the years of my research into privacy, monopolization, and corporate power, I've come to realize the importance of personal leadership at companies that promise a privacy solution. And that is so much more important for the dubious Telegram. Telegram was founded by brothers Pavel and Nikolai Durov after they made their billions off of Russia's largest social network, VK. VK had a rocky history with the Kremlin that demanded the company takes down online communities of Russian opposition activists. Later, the Russian government asked for personal data of VK users who participated in 2013 Ukraine uprising. Under pressure, Pavel Durov sold his stake in VK and left the country. This may have served as an ideological impetus to start Telegram as an anti-censorship, pro-free speech platform. Durov's anti-censorship stances do seem to be ideologically rooted. He seems to personally believe that free speech should be absolute, and is willing to take it extremely far, even if it threatens the existence of the service. His willingness to resist all forms of government censorship and surveillance is commendable to an extent. For that, I have to give him a plus point. But there is something that strikes me odd. This is the time when Durov began shopping for citizenship in multiple countries. After leaving Russia, Durov obtained a permanent residency in Dubai, where he decided to base Telegram's operation. At this time, he paid $250,000 a year to acquire a citizenship of St. Kitts and Nevis, a popular tax haven for the wealthy. He has never actually been to the Caribbean island nation. Meanwhile, Durav managed to meet with the Crown Prince of Dubai and join an advisory council to one of the 7 rulers of the United Arab Emirates. Eventually, he gained the UAE citizenship, a rarity for a nation that doesn't have a path to citizenship unless you get approved by one of the country's top ruling figures. In 2021, Durav also obtained French citizenship without apparently meeting the standard requirements. He then transliterated his name to Paul Durav. So Durav has a Russian citizenship, a French citizenship, a UAE citizenship, and a St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship. This to me evokes a behavior of a person that plans to dodge accountability, that if things go rough, he'll have a nice tropical place to retire in. I think Durav is doing this to immunize himself and Telegram of any accountability, and for that, he gets a minus point on trust from me. Telegram has so far had no business model. The venture has been personally funded by the billionaire wealth of Durav. He now promises to introduce a privacy-friendly monetization system based on contextual advertising. These are ads based on the context of the channels you're viewing on Telegram. That's opposed to the targeted ads which are profiled to your specific interests, usage habits, and traits, and which require invasive surveillance. DuckDuckGo is one example of monetization via contextual ads, and it seems to work for them. In my opinion, an even better model would be to run Telegram as a non-profit. This is how Signal or Proton are run. They decided to remove the profit incentive so that the only thing they are concerned with is focusing on security and improving the platform for the user, not to make money for the shareholder. Durav promises not to sell his company, which is good I guess, and only time could prove him right. While not being the gold standard, this is still a much less evil model than the publicly traded corporate apps like iMessage, WhatsApp, or Facebook Messenger. I do not trust the infinite growth model, but I can respect a private business. I'll give Telegram a plus for not selling out and for promising to keep a sustainable model that respects user rights. Telegram boasts they have never shared a byte of user data with anyone, including governments. That statement is impossible to prove and difficult to disprove without evidence. Signal publishes warrants and subpoenas for their user information, and they are consistent with Signal's privacy claims. I couldn't find any such transparency reports for Telegram. But what we can find is the strange record of Durav butting up with government officials and authoritarian rulers, and I'm concerned about that. At first, Kremlin seemed to have hated Telegram due to how popular it was with pro-democracy protesters in Russia and Ukraine, so they banned the app in the country. That animosity has since subsided. The ban on Telegram in Russia was lifted in 2020, and now half of Russians are using Telegram, and even the Russian military coordinates actions over the app, which is a shift that makes me ask, how? It makes no sense, unless something happened behind closed doors, but that's a speculation. Even stranger was Kremlin's response to Durav's arrest when Moscow stepped up to provide all necessary assistance and support. They called out France and the West for being hypocritical on free speech. That is a really strange behavior considering 10 years ago, Durav was literally forced to sell his stake in VK and chose to leave the country to avoid Russia's repressions. Now Telegram is based in Dubai, which is even weirder. Durav claims Dubai is the best place for a neutral platform like Telegram to be in. A strange thing to say about a country that jails people for minimum 15 years for insulting the president or detains people for expressing their beliefs. But Telegram's relationship with the UAE regime doesn't just end there. Throughout his stay, Durav set up meetings with the most influential figures in the country, including the Crown Prince of Dubai, and he joined the advisory council to one of the country's 7 rulers, while at the time, Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund invested $75 million into Telegram. A very questionable collusion of interest if you ask me. Durav then went ahead and fired shots at Signal for starting with a $3 million US government grant, which is rich coming from a guy that took 25 times that amount from an Emirati wealth fund. He also lied about Signal leaking messages due to faulty encryption, a claim evidence for which has never been provided nor found. If Signal is controlled by the US government, then Telegram is controlled by the United Arab Emirates. I find it hard to believe that Durav's kissing up is so good that aristocratic rulers wouldn't ask for anything else in return. Speculation on my part, I admit, but I'm not gonna trust you if you go buddy-buddy with authoritarian rulers that impose arbitrary detentions. A minus point for Telegram. Who uses the app can often tell you a lot about how much you can trust it, especially if you look at the edge cases. This can go both ways, so how is it with Telegram? Telegram has been used by protesters against authoritarian regimes around the world, including Hong Kong, Iran, Russia, of course, Ukraine, and Belarus. For this reason, Telegram has been banned in many countries. Iran, in fact, stepped up to praise France for arresting Durov, as the app is still widely popular in the Islamic country, despite being officially banned. And unlike big tech giants like Apple or Facebook, Telegram seems to be committed to protecting the identity of its users and availability of the service, even when they are clashing with angered governments. Telegram is also implementing censorship evasion tech, which is something that Signal and ProtonMail also do, and for that, Telegram deserves a plus point. However, Telegram is taking its anti-censorship stance way too far. If you do not agree, either I'm a lunatic or you are. Telegram allowed violent extremist groups on its platform to roam free. When ISIS, literal ISIS, was rampantly using Telegram to recruit and spread propaganda, Durov said that he shouldn't feel guilty about it. He said this at the height of the group's campaigns and attacks. It was only months later that several ISIS-related channels were blocked. There have also been cases of extremist groups using Telegram to plan assaults, spread violent content, and conduct attacks on schools. To me, this is where free speech clearly crosses the line. Those that infringe on personal liberty and life of others should be banished, not protected. Durov should recognize this, and until he does, Telegram gets a minus point. Applied security. This is a very interesting assessment and very unorthodox. How secure an app isn't determined just by its security model, which I'm gonna look at, but also by how practical it is to extract data from the service. In 2021, there was this secret FBI document that leaked online. It lists all the popular encrypted messaging apps, including Signal, WhatsApp, Threema, and of course Telegram. The document describes how much information the Federal Bureau can legally request from respective apps. Among all the apps, Telegram and Signal came on top. Signal provided the least useful information in my opinion, only timestamps for registration and last date of connecting to the Signal service. For Telegram, the information included user phone numbers and IP address, but only for confirmed terrorist investigations. By this standard, Signal and Telegram easily trump messaging behemoths like iMessage, WhatsApp, and Viber. This does not mean Telegram is technologically more secure than other apps. It's more likely the case that Telegram's legal structure, the fact that it's offshore, and that law enforcement would have to go through multiple channels to get the warrants and subpoenas they need, means a regular lawful access does not return the same level of data as it does for other apps. I'm gonna give Telegram a plus point for this. Telegram is aggressively marketed as a private and secure messaging app. But is that true? Surprisingly, the answer to this question is a resounding no. The bare minimum a privacy app should meet is a deployment of end-to-end encryption by default. That is, the content of every message should only be accessible to the sender and the recipient, but not the service provider. Telegram does not use end-to-end encryption by default. In fact, most of the features have no option for enabling end-to-end encryption at all. It is only possible for one-on-one chats in a feature called Secret Chat, but the option is not even immediately available. You'd have to start a new chat and go through at least 4 taps to turn it on. Even then, encrypted chat will not start until your recipient is online. This is a terrible design, and it's even worse that Durov vehemently defends his position, saying that Telegram does not need end-to-end encryption because the messages are stored in multiple locations. What? That's not security, that's obscurity. And it still means your messages are always accessible to Telegram. If Durov wanted so, got compromised, or blackmailed, everything could get out. If Telegram got hacked, the attackers would get access to your messages. This wouldn't be possible with Signal or WhatsApp because these services encrypt your conversations by default with the keys only users possess. This is the standard, the bare minimum in secure messaging. Telegram is thus bested by Signal, Matrix, WhatsApp, and even Facebook Messenger. Literally, Facebook is more secure than Telegram. Durov says that Telegram is much more than just a secure messenger, and that all of Signal is contained in Telegram's secret chat feature. That is false. Yes, Telegram is more than just one-on-one chats. It has public channels and massive group chats, so by that aspect, it's more of a social network than a secret messenger. But Signal doesn't just encrypt one-on-one chats. They also encrypt group chats, group calls, profile metadata, offer sealed sender, and an open proxy service. This is such a massive L for Telegram if you expect any provable privacy protections from the app. So that was the last parameter, and now we should have the final score. In total, I gave Telegram 4+ points for personal stance, company promise of ethical advertising, enabling pro-democracy protests, and applied security. I gave it 5- points for safety, weird passport shenanigans, butting up with authoritarian rulers, allowing violent extremists and abusers roam free on its platform, and for terrible stance on end-to-end encryption. What does this mean? It means that you should know that your chats are not private with Telegram. But if you only intend to use Telegram for its public features and you understand you are not private, go ahead. In either case, you should still be aware that Telegram does not do enough to actually banish harmful individuals from its app, which is a major concern for the safety of children and vulnerable populations that might fall victim. Yes, there are bad people everywhere, but Telegram is uniquely bad at keeping its users safe. So that's my evaluation. I'm gonna use this template for other apps and services, so post your suggestions in the comments if you want more content like this. And join my Patreon because I have a podcast there and I'm poor as fuck.